I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is Tuesday, January 17th, 2017. It is 9 a.m. and this is the Palm Coast City Council. Please join me in the pledge of the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Paul?
Holland?
Here.
Vice Mayor Nobile?
Here.
Councilmember Cuff?
Here.
Councilmember Clufus?
Here.
Councilmember Shipley?
Here.
Mayor, all members are present.
Thank you. First, we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 1. Oh. Yes, sorry. Proclamations and presentations.
Sure.
Councilmember Clufus, if you will present the proclamation. And anyone from the public that's going to accept the proclamation, please come up to the podium. Good morning.
Good morning.
Whereas February 7th, 2017 will mark the 74th anniversary of the sinking of the troop ship USAT Dorchester, which carried to their deaths 4 U.S. Army chaplains of 3 faiths who stood united in prayer as the ship went down. And whereas these 4 chaplains, Roman Catholic, Jewish, and Protestant, gave their own life jackets to 4 soldiers and thus sacrificed their own lives to save the lives of others. And whereas the heroic deeds of Chaplain Lieutenant George L. Fox, Lieutenant Alexander D. Good, Lieutenant Johnny P. Washington, and Lieutenant Clark V. Poling, and their combined act of supreme devotion and sacrifice for American liberty and human freedom will be an inspiring and ever-shining example of real brotherhood for all the time to the people of the world. And whereas we must all see to it that their supreme sacrifice to the common cause of human freedom and justice for all shall not have been in vain. Whereas American Legion Post 115, serving Palm Coast and Greater Flagler County, will be holding a 4 Chaplains Memorial Service on the anniversary on February 5th, 2017. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and the entire City Council of the City of Palm Coast that Sunday, February 5th, 2017, be 4 Chaplains Sunday, and the week of January 29th through February 5th be observed as Religious Emphasis Week, and call upon all of our citizens to commemorate the day and week with the appropriate observances in public places and by prayers in their homes and houses of worship. Signed this 17th day, January 2017.
Thank you. If you'd like to come up and say a few words, please.
Thank you, Mayor, council people. Appreciate you very much honoring us with this proclamation. The only thing that you can do more than this for us is to come to our 4 Chaplain service on Sunday, February 5th at 2 o'clock at the VFW Hall on Old Kings Road. It's a interfaith service where we honor these 4 chaplains and recognize for posterity our veterans and those that are currently serving that will become our veterans. Again, thank you for this proclamation. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Are we coming down?
Right.
Sure. You guys want to come back up here? Follow. This way. I got it. Look the truth.
Literally. Oh, it's over here.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's okay. Trying to get me out of the pictures. That's what I thought. Which is actually come on this way. In community service. The flag raising ceremony. Come on in. Photo.
All right, we'll do a few and I will count. 1, 2, 3. Get another. 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3. Good.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Oh, that's the mayor's seat. Yeah.
Are we
Lauren.
playing
You
music
don't want
on
to make her
chairs?
stand.
And item number 3 is presentations. A presentation of the Pink Army 5K proceeds donation to the Florida Hospital-FLAGLER Foundation Cancer Fund.
Some things just never change.
Good morning, Mayor and City Council. We're here this morning to present the check to our annual Pink Army 5K. We had a very successful event. We raised just under $10,000. Even with the event moving the date due to the hurricane, I think our participation was very well received. We're very excited to do this partnership again next year. John, would you like to say a few words?
I'd like to.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Lauren. In behalf of Florida Hospital-FLAGLER and our foundation, thank you very much for the city to once again partnering with us on our 8th annual Pink Army Run. Flanked is Bill Toll with the Florida Hospital-FLAGLER Foundation. Our chairman, Hilga Van Eckert, who has been our chairman and cheerleader for the Pink Army 5K for since the inception, and Katrina Austin, who is our co-chair, and they have been wonderful in getting our community involved. With the $10,000 that we raised through this will help approximately 100 women through the calendar year 2017, provide mammograms and other diagnostic testings for breast cancer. So this continues to help us touch our community in a very, very good way. So thank you so much, City of Palm Coast, for your continued support.
Thank you.
Let's get our annual picture, shall we?
Oh, we're coming down.
I think they're coming down to see us because we're so lost.
The related duties. He didn't know anybody else to give the camera to.
All right, Nick runs in it every year. Yes. Melissa has run this every time.
All right, I'm going to have you guys shift this way so I can get that logo behind you, right?
We're shifting
Sorry, Chief. We have total faith in you. All right, and John, if you could stand for the back.
Your granddaughter and just come here, right?
Half, right?
Okay, are you all ready? Got 2 photographers today, so keep smiling.
It's amazing what they give me.
Look at Chief.
Over here. Got it.
Thank you all very much.
Presentation, agenda item number 4 is presentation of finance awards for 2016. Jim?
Good morning, all.
Morning.
I'm not, okay, Cindy's going to handle this one. Very good. I'm going to start off and introduce it, though, because, you know, this is one of those functions of local government that when you do bad, it's a front page story and the whole world knows about it. But when you do good, it's the 5th page, if even that, and nobody reads about it. So we've started a tradition here a few years ago to recognize our finance department that is here locally, recognize them locally, that's recognized statewide and nationally each year. And this year they've been recognized with 4 awards, formal awards. I'm going to talk a little bit more about informal awards later, but these are not the type of awards that most cities will get. You'll find that most cities will get 1 or 2, and yet our team here gets 4, and some of them very prestigious and very unusual. and not very many cities actually accomplish at this level. So we are extremely fortunate to have a team led by Chris Quinn. But you know, I always say it's kind of like me. He doesn't do much of the work, but we have a lot of people here that are in the background that most people. Okay, I misspoke. He doesn't do any of the work.
Right under the bus.
And he has a lot of people that help him, very talented, very dedicated, that don't get recognized very often. They're kind of in that back room. So Cindy will take it from here to formally recognize them right now.
So I was thinking that maybe we could go ahead and have Chris and his entire finance staff come up and join us here. Come on.
Wow.
It's a lot of numbers.
About to say, it's almost a harem.
One award for every 2.3 members.
All right, careful.
So as a city, we're very proud of our strategic planning process, which takes the goals and direction that you, the city council members, give us as a city and puts them into a plan. And we do a priority-based budgeting, and that requires a direct link between our department's spending and that strategic action plan and the strategies that we put into that each year. So we believe that the awards that are being presented today are show the staff's dedication to the City Council's goal of providing a high quality of life for our residents while also achieving the highest level of fiscal responsibility possible. So there are 4 awards, and I don't know if they go in any particular order, but I'm going to just name them off, and then we'll get a photo with you all. So the first one is the International City County Management Association Certificate of Distinction from the ICMA Center for Performance Analytics. And this is the 3rd consecutive year that we're getting this award from ICMA, that they've recognized our performance management process, which is directly related to strategic action planning. The departments meet with the city manager each quarter to evaluate our progress, and we put together quarterly reports and annual reports, which are also shared on our city website. The ICMA certificates are awarded at 3 levels: achievement, distinction, and excellence. Only 52 jurisdictions in the entire United States and only 8 Florida cities received this award this year. So this, as Mr. Landon had mentioned, this really puts us in a top tier of cities for this award. The next award is the Government Finance Officer Association's Distinguished Budget Presentation for the annual budget. And this is our 13th consecutive year receiving this award. And for this award, we are rated in 4 categories with 14 mandatory criteria that relate to the budget document, our financial plan, our operations guide, and our communication with citizens about the budget. The Strategic Action Plan and the annual budget are planning documents that we use. The Comprehensive Annual Financial Report and the Popular Annual Financial Report are the reports that show that we followed that plan and stayed within our budget. So the next 2 awards relate to that. The Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting is for the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. This is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting, and this is the City of Palm Coast's 15th year receiving this award for our audited financial statements. And for the 3rd year, we've been recognized by the Government Finance Officers Association for outstanding achievement in popular annual financial reporting. And this is the award that we affectionately call the PAFR, or the report we affectionately call the PAFR, P-A-F-R. This is the 3rd year that we've received this in a row. 2014 was the first time that we put together a PAFR for the city. It's designed to give our residents an easy to understand overview of our financial position as a city. This information is pulled from our comprehensive annual financial report, We are not required to do the PAFR, so we are especially proud of that award and that report, because it really does help our citizens have an inside look at our financial records if they maybe don't understand audits and that kind of thing. And that's the 4 awards, and I want to congratulate Mr. Quinn and his entire staff, because it really does take a team to do this level of excellence. So I'm going to have you guys gather here.
Cindy, before you do that, I'm going to get off script a little bit, because that's what they were recognized as a department. But this past year, as individuals, some of them really have stepped up. And I'm going to read a couple of things that they have recently accomplished. That I've been in this business, 30, 35 years, and I haven't even heard of these things. And so they've gone out, and that's at what kind of level we are. But and Chris, maybe you can recognize them. The email I have just says that 4 of our accounts clerks were certified as accounts payable. And through the Accounts Payable Association program from the Institute of Financial Operators. And then also 3 of them received certifications in fundamental payroll certification from the American Payroll Association. Once again, things behind the scenes that we don't even know exist, but it's something that is above and beyond which any other city I've ever been in or heard of have gone to this level. Chris himself, now that I've tried to say something nasty about him, I'll say something nice. He recently graduated from the inaugural leadership class of GFOA, the local chapter, which is a governmental finance association. So he was recognized as the first class of that leadership program that they just started. Plus, he's been asked to teach classes in that program. And that's quite an honor. When you have somebody who is recognized by saying, we want you to bring those best practices to other professionals in the finance world, is quite an honor. And then lastly, probably one of the most significant things that is quite phenomenal. I cannot remember the last time we had an audit comment. The last couple of years we had 0. There were some times when we had some policy issues, such as Chris needed to hire more people because he had too much work for his staff, but that's not critical of the staff, that is just a policy issue. But I think the whole time Chris has been in leadership, we have not had a negative audit comment. And in this business, that is highly unusual. There's kind of a saying that, the auditor's got to pretend like they are earning their keep by at least making a few comments to you. They can't even find cheap comments to make towards our financial report. So that is absolutely phenomenal, and an indication of what a team we have here. So formal recognition, but I think also informal recognition is well deserved. So I want to congratulate you all also. Thank you.
Do a picture. I just really also wanted to thank not only Chris but his staff. I've been very impressed by our fiscal management already in the city, and just with the projects we've seen, and I know it takes a tremendous amount from each and every person in this department to make this happen. So I really want to extend my thanks and my sense of pride as well. Thank you for all you do for our city. Thank you.
Going down again?
No.
Yep.
Stay up. Stay up.
We staying up?
Okay, so what I need you to do is stand kind of close to each other in the front, and then everybody else can kind of stagger between them so we can see your faces.
Okay, I guess we're staying up.
That's good.
Council members, are y'all coming down, or are you going to stay
Oh, how about I don't know.
Stay back there? Okay.
I mean, look at Chris. He's like 9 feet tall.
Are we good?
Advantage.
All right, are we almost ready? I'm going to do a few, so you all smile. All right, 1, 2, 3. Couple more. 1, 2, 3. One more, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, matches the whole on time for the, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now move to agenda item number 5, which is ordinance.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
It's an ordinance of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, annexing by voluntary petition properties located contiguous to the City of Palm Coast in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of Section 171.044 Florida statutes. This ordinance redefines the boundaries of the City of Palm Coast to include a portion of the property known as Edge Properties, LLC, located in Section 39, Township 12, Range 31. This ordinance redefines the corporate limits of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, and generally consists of approximately 26.71 acres, more or less, as more particularly described in the ordinance. This ordinance provides for findings for the taking of administrative actions for severability, conflicts, non-codification, and provides for an effective date.
Mayor, City Council, this is a second reading. It is very standard. You've already approved the pre-annexation agreement. We believe this item is ready for final approval.
Any council comments before I open up to public comment? Seeing none, I'll open up to the public. Any member from the public wishes to make comment on agenda item number 5, please do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Take it back to the council for approval.
Move approval.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll call to question. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. We will now recess the City Council meeting and convene the CRA Board meeting. Do we have to just...
Yeah, I can introduce this. Since Chris got all those accolades, now he has to earn his keep, and I think he's done a good job of doing that. We have a proposal to refinance some of our debt, both in the CRA and also the utility, and to save us a lot of money. So, Chris, take it from here.
Sure. With us today is Mark Galvin, our financial advisor as it relates to all of our debt issuances, and we've just got a short presentation. We kind of introduced what we were working on at the last workshop in December, that we had a couple of refinancing opportunities that we wanted to take advantage of before the interest rates started to take off, and we've been able to put together a couple of nice packages, and we're just going to discuss those here briefly.
For the record, Mark Galvin for Southwest Company, financial advisor to the city. As Chris said, is back in December, I guess right around the 6th, or when in December we came forward with you to talk about possible refunding opportunities. Today we've got the documents to be able to lock in those interest rates, with the idea of being able to close and have debt service savings be closed on, on Thursday. The 19th. And so the first one, which of course has to do with the CRA. As we were moving forward and looking at some of the refunding opportunities, one of the things that came forward was a discussion with Emeritus Bank, and they have agreed to amend their existing documents to lower the interest rates. So as you can see on this chart right here is that the initial interest rate, we're looking at refunding the Series 2012. The current interest rate is 4.44%. It's the taxable deal, 2014. And so with this adjustment, we have an opportunity. They've agreed to lower their interest rate to 3.45%. And what this means, as you look over at the first part of the chart, we're talking about total cash flow savings of close to around $400,000, a little over $400,000, annual savings of about $35,000. And in our business, what we like to do is we look at everything on a present value basis. And so we were, the present value of that is about $350,000. So we're excited, like I said, that this opportunity came. We want to thank Emeritus for coming forward and be willing to negotiate with us to be able to benefit the city. So what you'll have in a few minutes is just a resolution that just modifies the existing note to lower the interest rate.
Councilmember, any questions?
Just one. Right?
Yes.
Are there any costs associated to that that's going to add to the debt principal?
As far as there are some costs, as far as some of the legal costs, I think the total amount is probably right around, close to around $10,000.
Okay, and so those savings include those costs?
That's correct. Those costs are going to be paid outside of the cost out of cash that you have currently on hand. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Okay.
Right. We're not adding to the principal.
Okay. Or the term?
That's correct. This is strictly, it was this rate, now it's this rate. And
Great,
so
good.
you're getting the annual debt service savings associated with that.
Any other council comments or questions?
Yes.
Any member from the public wish to make comment on agenda item number 6, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. I'll take it back to this council. Entertain a motion to approve.
Approval. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you. We will now adjourn the CRA board meeting and reconvene the city council meeting. Resolutions. Agenda item number 7, resolution approving modifications to the existing loan relating to the State Road 100 Corridor CRA's redevelopment refunding note series 2014 held by Ameris Bank.
Mayor, City Council, this is an identical item. It just has to be approved by both the CRA board and City Council. So now you're sitting in City Council, so it's the same action, same presentation.
It's like smoke.
If there's no council discussion, we will open up for public comment on this agenda item. And I'll close public comment. I'll take it back to this council. Entertain a motion to approve.
Move approval. Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 8, resolution approving refinancing of utility state revolving fund loans with Center State Bank.
Mayor, City Council, this is the second half of this. It has nothing to do with the CRA board, so it's we separated the presentation out, and this has to do with our utility, one of our utility debts. So, Chris, take it from here, or Mark.
Okay. Back in December when we came forward, we also said in addition to looking at the CRA is that we would also take a look at your existing SRF debt to see whether or not there was some a potential debt service savings. One thing that was approached to us by Center State Bank was the opportunity to be able to lower the interest rate. Now, and so what we have before you is a resolution that will refund the 4 SRF debt that are part of your water and sewer system. These loans will be able to refund it, provide debt service savings, also provide the flexibility if the city ever wants to refinance it, either for debt service savings or structuring, they can do that. The security is the same as what you currently have with the state SRF program. What we have, while it's not a lot of money, it's free money as far as we're concerned, is that there's no restrictions on you being able to refinance it. With this, what we're looking at doing is doing a $17 million bond issue, bank loan, excuse me, and it will provide savings of about $146 over the life of the issue, and average about $12,000, between $12,000 to $13,000 per year. So on the present value, $128. The interest rates vary based upon the maturity. We're not extending the life of the issue. The cost associated with it is also going to be paid by the city. We're not extending the life or the dollar amount. And so here we have an opportunity that, like I said, the debt can be prepaid at any time. So what we have is a resolution, or I guess a master resolution, Chris, and also a supplemental that you'll go ahead and adopt, which will go ahead and finalize this with the idea that once again on the 19th, we'll go ahead and close the issue.
Council comments or questions on this issue?
One question, Madam Mayor. Can you give me a couple of examples as to the restrictions that we're going to be avoiding now?
No, we're not really avoiding. What we have is that when you go out with the SRF, there are certain advantages associated with an SRF loan.
Okay.
Is that an SRF loan through the state is a junior lien debt, which means that your senior lien bonds, your ratings and stuff like that affected with your senior lien debt is it's not as affected, because obviously the senior lien people know they're going to get paid first, and then the junior lien people know they're going to get paid next. The Center State has agreed to take that second lien position, which it still maintains the strength of your senior lien and still maintains your overall current position. It also, just like an SRF, is that you have the ability to prepay an SRF at any time. Same thing, Center State has agreed to go ahead and to say that if for some reason we need to refinance it for whatever reason, they will not charge a prepayment penalty. So we're keeping the same security, which is the water and sewer revenues, and the same coverage number requirements, everything that you currently have with the state revolving loan. You're just transferring it over to Center State as far as their security. Okay. So that's what I meant by no restriction. It's the same restrictions that you currently have. You just get savings, and you still maintain your flexibility.
So the main objective, or let me rephrase that, the main reason for this is the dollar savings?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other council questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll open up to the public. Any member from the public wishes to make comment on agenda item number 8, please state your name for the record, and your 3 minutes will begin following.
Louis McCarthy, Palm Coast. I just have one question. Is there a prepayment? If you pay off the debt, do you have a penalty? Is there a penalty involved? And that's it.
Thank you. Any other questions from the public or comments at this time? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Mr. Quinn, if you can answer Mr. McCarthy's question, please.
Certainly, there is no penalty to prepay this at any time.
Great question. Okay, any other council questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move approval.
Motioned and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Now move to resolution, agenda item number 9, resolution approving a contract amendment with AJAX Building Corporation to establish the guaranteed maximum price for the community center renovation expansion project. Jim?
This is a very exciting project we've been working hard on. Carl will do the presentation. The goal today is, once again, to actually amend our contract with AJAX. This is one of those that we've been working on a long time. Design is finished. We contracted with AJAX Construction Management Company. They've been part of the team for a couple of years. Today, it's really just approving the guaranteed price, which becomes an amendment to the contract, so that we can give them a notice to proceed here in a couple of weeks. So, Carl, give them the details, please.
Okay. Yes, good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the project and some history, kind of give you an update status of where we are and kind of schedule moving forward. To begin this project, it is a team project. It's really a 3-part team. We got AJAX Building Construction, who I have Lon Newman here from AJAX with us today. VOA is a lead for the design team. I have Michael Pellet from VOA here today as well, in the city of Palm Coast. So we all work in conjunction with one another through the design process to move forward into the construction phase. And just to go over some past actions and some future actions, some of the major tasks that we completed, we started with a space needs and cost analysis for the project. Then in the CIP, we allocated funds for the project. We then came forward with City Council approval for some contracts for the architectural services of the design team and the construction management services, which is construction management at risk. We came back to Council, proposed some preliminary design and phasing options. Then we moved forward and completed the design. Then the construction manager went out, obtained some bids so he could establish his guaranteed maximum price. City staff worked on the rental programs, relocating them and/or adjusting schedules. And we're here today to discuss the guaranteed maximum price, which will then lead to a groundbreaking and then eventual owner occupancy. And just a recap of what we're getting, this is the master site plan, so it gives a pretty good concept of what we're going to be doing to the site, expanding the project east and west on the north side, expanded parking, relocating the basketball court and playground, creating some stormwater drainage, adding a second entrance into another facility to facilitate traffic circulation. This here is an overall building plan. The brown square is the existing former council meeting space that's going to remain of the existing structure with a little room off to the side of it. The other green blocks are new meeting spaces. Blue are support spaces for those function areas. Yellow are storage areas, and the red-orange color is the admin area, central core of the building. These are just some concept renderings of what the building will look like at completion. This is standing over at the intersection of Clubhouse Drive and Palm Coast Parkway. And this is kind of standing across the street at the fire station, looking back across the parking lot at the entrance. Then now we'll get into some of the details of the guaranteed maximum price item on today's agenda. Just to go through kind of the process, AJAX goes through a pre-qualification process of their vendors to be able to obtain bids on the project. They also try and pursue local and market area participation. There are 24 separate bid packages that were sent out, such as concrete, electrical, and the various trades. They currently have 7 intent to awards to local and market area vendors. That's Volusia and Flagler County area. And those 7 packages account to over 50% of the subcontractor cost. So the guaranteed maximum price for the construction is $7,830,036. What you're going to get for those funds, you're going to get a trailhead restroom building, roughly 372 square feet, community center building of over 21,000 square feet, and it's also going to include the furnishing, fixtures, and equipment. It's also going to consist of some site development. The majority of the existing trees will remain, the new lighted basketball court, and new expanded playground, an expanded parking lot, and a stormwater drainage system, as well as we are pursuing LEED certification for the project. We currently have a contract with AJAX Building Corporation. It's a construction manager, CM, at risk. What does that mean? That means any cost overruns are the CM responsibility, not the city. Now, if there's savings from that guaranteed maximum price, those savings are returned to the city. 80% go to the city, and the construction manager retains 20% of those savings. So the amendment number 1 to the contract will establish the guaranteed maximum price at $7,830,036. This shows you here in our capital fund for this current fiscal year and next fiscal year. We have funds allocated at $4.5 million this year and $3 million for next year. This kind of gives an overview of the project cost for the construction phase. As I just indicated, in 17 and 18, we have some design and miscellaneous fees, just over $167,000, and the construction GMP of just over $7.8 million, brings the total just under $8 million. So the capital projects fund from the previous slide, in 17 we had $4.5 million, in 18 we had $3 million. In upcoming fiscal year 18, we'll need to add another $497,500 of funds to meet the project cost. Those additional funds are available, capital project funds that will be allocated to this project. An overall schedule. GMP approval today, which would then in turn lead to the facility closing for public use at the end of this month on January 31st. Notice to proceed, the construction will begin February 1st and will last roughly a year. January of 18, we consider that substantial completion. That's when the owner goes in and we can start prepping the space for our use, which will lead to the furniture, fixtures, and equipment going in February with owner occupancy in March of 2018. And there is a project website to keep the public and citizens and everyone informed of what's going on with the project. There is a website linked through the city's website. We'll have a project status, some photo updates, so keep everyone apprised of what's going on with the project. That leads to the council action for today. Approve the contract amendment number 1 with AJAX Building Corporation, which will establish the GMP in the amount of $7,830,036. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from our council? Mayor.
Carl, this is going to run about $350 a square foot. Is that average for a project of this type?
Yeah, we did go ahead and we did break that out internally, the cost, because you really look at it for a project, you break out the site costs away from the building costs. And the building costs, I think, are coming in around $230 a square foot or so for the building portion of the project, which is in line with what we would expect for a building.
Okay, so, and then, so the other 120 is about, is equipment. And
well, a lot of it has to do with the site work, the basketball court, the playground, the restroom building, the stormwater drainage, all the site work that is occurring is the remaining funds.
Okay, I'm just concerned that maybe, yeah, and this is how I'm looking at it, I'm torn here on this project because on one hand, this is a very important project for our community, okay? We need this community center. It was postponed and, you know, people have to wait, and this is a real amenity. But on the other hand, I'm looking at these costs and I'm sitting down thinking, geez, you know, this is this started years and years ago at $4 to $5 million. Now we're up at $8 million. And it's kind of like how we started with City Hall. It was $4 or $5 million, and we ended up spending $9 million. And I'm a little concerned that maybe we're spending a little more than we need to get this project off the ground, and instead use money that could be, you know, spent in other areas. Spending an awful lot of money in one area of Palm Coast right now. We've got Holland Park, we've got now the City Hall. It's a lot of money, and it's very, you know, very centric to one section of Palm Coast. I like to spread the wealth a little bit. So I want you to, if you could, take a breath and give me a couple of minutes and justify these costs in comparison to other costs. You know, just make me feel a little fuzzy that, yeah, this is what it's going to cost. We're not, you know, we're not getting gold-plated sinks and, you know, stuff like that. Could you do that? I know I put you on the spot here, and I hate to do that.
I think the gentleman next to you, who is really responsible for that, probably is the right one to answer.
And Carl is so happy. He's like, yeah, here's the mic.
So, I'm Lon Newman with AJAX Building Corporation. As Carl was saying, you know, we've been involved in this all along, and really as the team approach, went through and prioritized what needed to be in there and budgets and everything else. So as we were following through, we feel that the cost that have been designed to and the scope that's been desired has really kind of kept in line with each other and what's been happening in the market, so that what we've priced is very competitive for the design that we have, which y'all have seen. And
is the design in line with that type of structure?
Yes, very much so. And we, as a team, worked through early on, you know, it's, you know, between architects and contractors, a lot of times during that design, it's, you know, working out form over function. And so I believe we really vetted, we kept it very efficient. And so I feel there's no gold plating in this at all, but yet at the same time, it's not just a square stucco box.
Which is fine.
You know, you've got a community center that I believe you're going to be very proud of. We've got We got multiple 3 bids on every trade. So, you know, to me, what always tells you whether you're getting a good price is did you get competitive pricing on everything? And we did all the way through on all of those elements. So that tells you a lot of what you're seeing. To reiterate what Carl was saying, when you look at a square foot cost, just on the total number, it looks a little higher than normal, but both the site development and all of the furnitures, fixtures, and equipment, everything that's included, when you back that all out, this is a very competitive cost for this type of building. And I believe this type of building is, you know, something you're going to be proud of. A million more details I can get into, so I'm not sure how
that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Also give a little background, because Mr. Nobile mentioned, you know, it started off at $4 million, now it's over $7 million. The project is totally different than what we started off. We were going to add one large room to our existing building, and but then we kept hearing more and more demands for additional space. We had issues with the existing building, with ADA, with old pipes and old wiring, and when the team got together, said that, you know, really we're going to have to pretty well tear it all down, and yet more like gut it than tear it down. And sometimes that can be less efficient and more costly. So as we got into the project, it ended up adding 2 large rooms, changed the whole common area with restrooms and things to bring them up to ADA. Also, this is where the Parks and Recreation staff offices are located, and so we reworked that. And so then the project right now, and this was approved by City Council a couple of years ago. This isn't a surprise. Only kept the one, what we call large room. Now it's going to be the small room. Mr. Nobile's comment about that this really was and has been, not was, is, and always has been kind of a central meeting location, and foresee that continuing to happen. I'm also going to touch base on we spent money in this one area versus the other areas. I mean, obviously, the building you're sitting in right now, some people say, well, why are you spending money down? Every time we spend money somewhere, someone is comments about where we're spending that. The vision and the goals of City Council a few years ago was to make sure that we didn't just worry about the new areas, and that we actually invested in rehabbing or redeveloping some of our existing areas. And this is in that area that we actually did a master plan as to what are some of the improvements we could make. Holland Park was one of them, yes, the community center, the golf course. There's others that are privately owned. The marina is a major one in that area that is part of that core that is old and tired, and hopefully will be brought up to current standards sometime. So the old Players Club property is another example. There's a few others that were in that master plan that said we need to take care of this area as we're also investing in others. So I think maybe that background helps a little bit too.
Are those all your questions or comments at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I just have one, and I don't know if you'd be able to answer this at this point, but it was always affordable to rent the space. Because of the amount of money we're putting into it, are we going to make it unaffordable for people to use these rooms? For the different groups that are using it now at a cheap cost, will they have to pay an enormous cost now?
Let me address that, because that's really nothing about the construction. We're paying cash for this, so there is no expectation that we're going to generate revenue from this building to pay off the construction. Our fees have always been geared towards paying our actual operating costs, the cost of having someone stay there after hours and those type of things. So the fee structure should not change philosophically unless City Council wants it to. But this will be a discussion that's going to come your way, but that will be after long after construction starts, but we're going to have that discussion before we actually open the center. But your staff is is going to continue to try to recover our actual operating costs, but not construction costs.
Any other council comments or questions? Now open it up to the public for public comment on agenda item number 9.
Louis McCarthy, Palm Coast. I just have some concerns, and one of them is scheduling of each one of these things that you're doing to the property. Are there going to be people who oversee and make sure that they stay within those scheduling that they put out? They say this, they're going to do this, such and such time frame, such and such time frame. And the reason for that, my concern, is that right now, each one of the things, the functions that's being done there is going somewhere else. And that's throwing things out of kilter somewhat. And the sooner we can get this whole thing back into, back in working order, the better it will be. Like, you know, like the kids who like basketball, like the mother who comes in with the, you know, with this, with the groups, the sewing groups, this group, that, you know. All I'm saying is watch the scheduling, make sure that it's on time. That's all.
Thank you.
Good morning, Vincent Liguori. I have 2 questions. The city manager mentioned that this whole project is a cash basis. I'm just wondering, am I correct in this statement? No non-city entity has provided any funds for this project. That's number 1. And number 2, to Mr. Nobile's question about spreading the wealth around the city, was consideration given to possibly leaving this community center as is, with possibly minor adjustments, and building a new one up in the old corporate center? Thanks very much.
Any other member from the public wish to make comment on this item?
Good morning. John Brady, Palm Coast. I'd like to support what was just said in terms of the fact that we're going to spend $7.8 million. We're not even talking about including what people have heard here about a senior citizen center. So is there any thought to a senior citizen center and any thought to scrapping this whole idea and building a brand new building at some place other than where it was presently located? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member wish to make public comment? We'll close public comment about scheduling. I can comment to that. I mean, Alex has done, and his staff has done an extraordinary job accommodating those that are currently utilizing the facility in order to able to help them relocate during this time of transition. I'm part of many organizations that utilize the facility, and scheduling is something that is very organized, very comprehensive. There hasn't been any mix-ups in all the years that I've attended meetings there, and I know that that will continue underneath Alex's leadership and staff.
Yeah, but he is trying to put 10 pounds of flour in a 5-pound bag at this point, so it's a challenge, but we're doing our best.
The second point to Mr. Liguori's, no non-city funds were given to this project.
Right, this is all coming out of our capital improvement funds for construction.
Part of that is also sales tax. I know that Chris brought that up before.
Yes, yeah, it's a major portion of what, yeah, but it's still city tax dollars, but it's sales tax dollars.
Important to note, though, it's not just residential ad valorem tax-based dollars.
Is there any ad valorem tax in this fund at all? There's, yeah, some. Maybe the transfer of reserve funds into capital, but that would be about it. Yeah, this is not property operating dollars. This is our capital program.
And as far as
Maybe I could,
consideration other portions and scrapping it.
right, I'd be happy to talk a little bit about the history. Yeah, you know, we have a Parks Master Plan that calls for particularly another community center or recreation center, depending on, you know, what the goal is, northern portion of the community and actually in the southern portion of the community. So we have looked at other alternatives. The concept was, once again, was not to abandon our older facilities, but to take care of our older facilities and look at other locations for new facilities. One of the keys, in my opinion, is that makes a big difference between new and existing and renovation, is that new means new staffing. You know, we'll have some additional operating costs. It's larger. You're going to have some additional staff, but that's nothing compared to a whole new facility and having to staff the whole new facility. So right now the goal, and can stay within our budget, was to renovate the existing facility and look at in the future, once again, having to come up with revenue for that for additional facilities elsewhere. Hopefully I've answered the question as it came up, but yes, a lot of thought went into this. This was a very typical process where it was part of our 10-year capital improvement plan, our 5-year capital. I mean, it has evolved. Today is the last day of approval. This is, but it's not just a very quick process. We've been doing this for years, and a lot of thought's gone into it with a lot of alternatives. Once again, it has evolved. It started off with adding a room to something that I think the community is going to be very proud of. You know, it's also very common. We get that all the time. It's hard to visualize what this is going to look like. The site development, you know, we got a big ditch on the west side. That ditch is going away. It's going to be part of this. I mean, what you see there now and what you're going to see when this is all finished is going to be substantially different, and I think people are going to be very proud of it, but it's hard to visualize that until you actually see it.
Yeah, I mean, I came here in 1987 when there were 10,000 people in the entire county. And that was the same community center that was utilized in 1987 that's being utilized in 2016 with a city of over 82,000 residents. So we are bursting at the seams. I can tell you, I would encourage any resident to go see how the current community center is utilized. We have many different entities that not only rent this space, but we provide a lot of services for many different age groups. We do have a lot of senior services that our seniors utilize. We have youth services. So I would encourage anyone to go on our website and look at the services the city staff does provide. It is very comprehensive. It is utilized by many of our residents, and this will give an opportunity for us to grow in services, for us to continue to provide those as we continue to see a growing population in our city. So I see this as a neighborhood revitalization project in a certain area of our community. I see this as a starting point as we continue to grow, to look at different parts of our community. And, you know, we are paying cash for this. We're not borrowing the money. That's important to note. And as you stated, sales tax is also a portion of this. So the more shopping that our residents do and pay into that, or visitors do, we have a lot of... Locally. Well, I mean, when visitors come in and they eat at our restaurants or they shop in our stores, that's a sales tax that they are paying as well. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I know there are concerns about some increased costs, but I think that was explained very well. I'm very familiar with AJAX. I know that they normally have done jails as well in the past, and I've seen them come under budget and under the actual projected time. So I'm looking forward to good things with them as our partner in this project. Any other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Do I see a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, other business. Agenda item number 10, appoint 4 members to fill vacancies on the Leisure Services Advisory Committee. Council members, Virginia has sent us an email in regards to the resumes of 4 of the applicants. So,
You actually have 5.
yes.
4 positions. Alan Campbell is a current member, and he's asking to be reappointed. So, and he's eligible to be reappointed with simple majority.
Do you have a voting sheet coming with your name on top?
Oh.
If you could fill out round 1 and
I didn't
vote
look.
for 4, and Mr. Campbell is on that list as well.
So how are we doing this? I'm sorry. So we just check,
Round 1, check for 4 members.
So you're prepping for the...
just round 1 box.
Right, right. The idea is that if someone doesn't get, or 4 people don't get 3 votes, then there'll be round 2. If 4 people get 3 votes, then you're done.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm already preemptively going down the list of who I intend, or should I mark these guys going?
Okay, you got to vote for 4.
Gotcha. Yeah, those were.
Just do the first one.
Yeah, 4.
Okay.
These got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Boom. Just trying to figure out which defense to take in the fantasy draft.
You got your pictures? Yes, you got your pictures.
I'm sorry.
While we're waiting, can I ask a question? Is there any way, it's related to this, is there any way, or is it taboo, to put a residency limit on, like, you have to be here at least 3 years to get on one of these committees?
Yeah, you can just set a policy that way.
Because we've got, and I don't want to disparage anybody, I actually want to thank them for coming forward, but we got people, like, been here 2 months, and it's like, I would love for you to get involved. I have don't want to disparage them from getting involved, but making decisions for the city after being here 2 months,
It's a policy decision that would be up to city council. I would interject that it's really kind of an individual thought process. Everybody has their own criteria as
Right.
to. So to set a policy that says everybody has to follow this criteria is usually not what happens, but you can set parameters, but that would be up to city council.
I will also say, I mean, I know when I was on the county, applicants were required to be at meetings at the time of the appointment. And I think that's important to note, because if we had any questions of individual applicants, it was always very convenient for them to be here, and it showed their commitment to the application process. So that might be something we want to review as a policy. So.
Really up to city council, your whole selection process. We're following the same process we've gone through before. If you want to change it, that's fine too.
Good.
Okay, so we have 4 votes for Mr. Campbell, 5 votes for Mr. Colbert, and 5 votes, sorry, for Mr. Vignani, which means there's a tie for Mr. Knapp and Mr. Wins, so that a new sheet will come around. If you could vote just for Mr. Knapp or Mr. Wins.
Is it Mr. or Miss?
Yeah, it looks
Sorry,
like
Ms. Wins.
Sorry.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So that you can.
Sure. Thank you.
Oh, we're just passing.
Thank you.
Consent agenda?
Yeah.
We have 3 votes for Mr. Knapp and 2 for Ms. Goodens.
Okay, do we need to take formal action on the approval of those 4 appointments?
Yes.
Okay, so move approval for the reappointment of Mr. Campbell, appointment of Mr. Knapp, Mr. Goldberg, and Mr. Bignati. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to approve and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. We'll now move to a consent agenda. Any member of the public wishes to make comments on agenda items number 11 through 16, please do so at this time.
Sorry, public participation, it's just consent? No.
This is just on the consent. Thank you. That's okay.
Vincent Liguori, Palm Coast. I'm just asking, what is the current price for wildfire mitigation? Thank you. For the owner.
Once again, that's not consent, that's just general comment. Yep.
We do have an item, I think.
Well,
16, item 16.
Oh, okay, we can,
Yeah.
if you want to pull that, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll close public comments. Mr. Landon, do you know what the current cost for wildfire mitigation is?
I can't tell you what the current cost is. I don't have that. I don't know that anybody, I'm getting a lot of nods heading in the wrong direction. I can tell you what the proposal is $125 per lot and $135 per lot are the two that we have received with this proposal. So
Does that cost just pass through?
Yes. How the process works is that if a lot is determined that needs this type of maintenance, we send the property owner notice. They may, now we can get more answers. I knew if I stalled long enough.
Mention something, she pops into
Yeah,
the room.
yeah, that's amazing how technology works. So we send the notice to the property owner saying that they need to perform wildfire mitigation. They have so many days to do that. If they don't, then we will send out one of our contractors to perform the work, and then we send them a bill. If they don't pay the bill, then we lien their property and get paid through the property tax process.
So we know it's going to cost them $125, but they may get it cheaper.
And they're welcome to do that.
Right.
So it's really up to them, but if they don't, then our guys will do it. And this is actually good for the residents, because if they ask, at least, they know that what they can expect. Barbara, as far as what we pay today for $120, so it's gone up $5, and I think the contract has been for 5 years ago, so
Yeah.
$1 a year, that's not too bad.
Those mitigation tactics, are we talking about fire lanes around the?
Our code, it's have to be very, very careful, because some people think that, well, you have to clear the lot, all the edges of your lot. That's not the case. The code is 30 feet from structures of certain type of vegetation. And there is a palmetto, for example, when it catches fire, it has a tendency to, in essence, explode, and has a lot of sap that goes elsewhere and starts fires. So it is those type of plants that spread the fire very quickly, that if you have those plants within that 30-foot buffer area, you have to remove them.
Did we at one point offer that as a service to the city before the recession? And then we eliminated that?
No.
No.
This process has always been the case. Probably the difference is we were, at one time, when we first got the program started, a lot more proactive, where we would actually go and tag every lot that needed the work. Now we're more on a complaint basis, and if the neighbors request us to come take a look at it. So our real change is just whether we're, versus trying to be proactive where we got almost every lot in town versus the complaint basis we're operating under now.
Understood.
Okay, thank you. We'll now I'll look for a motion to approve consent agenda items number 11 through 16.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Now we'll move to public participation portion of the agenda. Members from the public will have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name for the record.
Good morning, George Mayo, Palm Coast. I'm here in reference to the traffic situation on Belterre Boulevard and 100 concerning the shops there and Tractor Supply. When this was first brought up for approval, it was phase 1 was building the buildings, and phase 2 was putting in the right turn lane and the center turn lane, widening the road. We received assurances that the way they have the entrance going northbound and the exit for cars that turn right going northbound, cars would not be able to, going southbound, would not be able to turn into there. Therefore, there wouldn't be a traffic problem. I expressed my doubts. At the time, Councilman Bill McGuire also expressed his doubts and said he didn't think that was going to be fairly safe. Well, in the past couple of weeks, just 2 days ago, a pickup truck was exiting going north, and a woman coming southbound attempted to enter through the exit. And they stopped about 4 feet from each other before they had a head-on collision. A car going southbound stopped abruptly, a couple cars in front of me. There were enough cars in back of me she was trying to illegally enter that area through the exit, and cars backed up almost all the way to Route 100. So on a busy day, if there's cars blocking the entrance and people do this, you're going to have cars sticking out on 100. I saw a woman last week exit through the northbound entrance and almost hit a car coming northbound on Belterre Boulevard head-on. There are no signs there. I request that the city, there is a stop sign there now, put on that side, or have the contractor do it, whoever is responsible, put a do not enter sign right there. And on the entranceway coming northbound, so that cars do not exit there, because they are supposed to, as we were told, they were going to all go down to the south entrance and then turn left to go southbound on Belterre, to put a do not enter or do not exit, at that sign, so they are aware of it on the parking lot side, because I can see an accident, if it hasn't happened already, about to happen. I've seen too many just in the short period of time. In conjunction with that, in the future, I request that the council, when there is a similar project going on, when the contractor says, well, we're going to build these beautiful shops, and then we'll fix the road in phase 2. I have been in contact with Mr. Flanagan, and he said the contractor's dragging the heels, and the city is now taking over that. There is no reason the city should have to do this. If there is another project similar to this, to require any road adjustments be done along with the project at that time and not split it into 2 phases.
Thank you so much. Next member from the public wish to make public comment. Please state your name for the record. Your 3 minutes will start following your name.
Yes, Vincent Liguori, Palm Coast. First of all, I'd like to compliment the city clerk's office and client services for their help in collecting debris which had been overlooked in our section, the W's. This brings me to, and congratulations to all the new members of the council and to the senior members, my best wishes. This brings me to Hurricane Matthew. Again, if you look at local media, you heard about A1A, you heard about the cost to municipalities, but no one mentioned the cost to us and what is happening to us. If you look at the collection of debris out on US 1, I think you will agree that most of the debris that you picked up came from vacant lots. It's all out there on US 1. I don't know. I think you're grinding it or doing something with it. My point is, in high-density residential areas, this is the 21st century. These lots, some of them in these areas, have been there for centuries. And the way it looks, they're going to continue to be there. So what will the council do? What must we do for damage which homeowners are incurring due to trees coming off adjacent properties, smacking their power lines, causing power failures, and causing people to have to remove them from their properties? In my neighborhood alone, over $3,000 was spent by homeowners to remove trees that impacted them from other lots. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? It's easy to say it's an act of God. I say it's an act of omission or a neglect on our part that we're not recognizing what is being heaped upon our citizens. FPL, 8% increase this year. FPL, 13% increase next year. Hurricane, 2% deductible. So how much can we stretch our homeowners who are trying to keep clean, decent grounds and being impacted by these lots? I've circulated a memo that I prepared 2 months ago and presented it to the prior council. I would hope that this council takes a good hard look at it. This is only a base. I know it's not the panacea that I presented to you. It can be improved. Nothing is perfect. You can improve anything. Something really has to be done. I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member from the public wish to make public comment? Please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Mr. Lanning, can you address the issue of the new tractor store and...
Yes, I believe a flyer I got that Tractor Supply is going to open up this week, or maybe they're already open, but yes, I'll have staff take a look at the traffic. There is a misperception, I've got to clarify. The right turn lane was actually not required of this development. The traffic study does not show that it was required. We did include it in the project and have an agreement with the developer that either we would do it or they would do it, and that we would use impact fee monies for that. They have chosen not to do it, so we are actually out on the street right now to start the process for design, and we'll move forward with it, but wanted to...
We are, you know, honestly, to suggest that we shouldn't have a right turn lane there is ludicrous.
No, not suggesting that...
I mean, I can't imagine what study would show it not required. I mean, I was there, every time I go there, the line is back at, you know, at least 7 or 8 cars, and that was before tractor.
Exactly.
Open.
Your last point was, the key point was, is that the right turn lane is needed, period.
Right.
Not just because, I'm not suggesting
yes.
that it's not needed. It was needed before this ever got started.
Okay.
But that's the key to it, is it's not just because of this one project that it was needed. So that's why what we are doing is kicking it up by using the impact fee, transportation impact fee monies from this project to make it happen.
Now, what's the schedule on that?
I just got this weekend an update that we are in the process of selecting a firm to design it. So it hasn't been designed yet, so we're still a few months out.
So that will be done, and I would just ask staff to go down there and just look at the whole...
The left turn, the coming in the wrong way and all the bad turns that was described by the gentleman, yeah, we need to take a look at that and see what kind of signage and what we can do to avoid that. 2 different issues. One of them is traffic flow currently, and secondly is get that right turn lane in.
Okay, thank you. And as far as Mr. Ligori's comments, I know he's presented this council this morning. I've not had a time to look at this, so I would like some time to look at this and review and do a little bit more research on the issue myself before making any comments. So we can definitely talk about this in the future, and I appreciate your comments. I know they're very important. So,
may I comment on that too? Yes. We recently reapproved a contract with Bobcat, I think it was, for when we as a city have to send people out there to clear lots. Do those same price tables, do those apply in this situation? He said that they've spent $3,000 clearing trees, and I've talked to people who say they've gotten quotes for tree removal for about $1,200 for things that they feel are coming over onto their side and potentially could cause problems. But in that fee table, the city pays much less than that. But that's usually when the city says, okay, we need to get rid of this. And does it go vice versa, where a resident can say, hey, I need to get rid of this, and as a city, we?
Yes, well, it's, once again, what you're lots of times referring to is a tree on somebody else's lot, and one property owner wants another property owner to cut the tree down. And we only can require that if the tree is deemed to be hazardous. In other words, it's leaning, it's dead, it has some issues, then we can require it. And then if it's required to come down, then we give them notice that says you've got a diseased tree, you got something wrong with the tree that it needs to come down. And then once again, we give them so many days. If they don't do it, then we cut it down, send them the bill. They don't pay it, we put it on their taxes, just like we talked fire mitigation. And yes, we have a contract for that with a set price. During the hurricane, it's sad. I had, one of my neighbors was looking at, well, how come, and some of it's supply and demand. Our price is set, like for a 3-year contract, and that price is fairly low because of the quantity. So I'm not going to tell you everybody can find a price as low as ours, but during the hurricane, we had people who were charging more than normal. I will say that. Now, with that said, taking down a tree can be different. If you have to bring in some kind of lift to take it down in chunks because you can't just knock it down, it's going to land somewhere, and then all that adds a cost, and our cost goes up if that happens too. The size of the tree, the different issues. So when someone says, oh, I took a tree down for $400, and someone else says, well, it cost me $2,000, it could be 2 different trees in 2 different situations. We have some $2,000 trees out there that we had to take down, the large oaks and those type of things. So you have to be careful about comparing apples and apples. Hopefully that addressed your question. It's like anything else. It's worthwhile asking around. We can't recommend anybody, but it's a public record as to how much we charge and who we use, and the public's welcome to contact those people also, and maybe getting that word out that this is what kind of the going rate is for the city, and if people charge more than that, maybe the little competition would be good for them out there.
Also, we talked today in the consent agenda about I think it's $125 for the fire mitigation. That's rarely trees. That's usually just bushes and shrubs and things like that. So wouldn't want the public to think that, well, $125 is what the city is paying a contractor to take down a large tree. That's not what we're dealing with, generally speaking, with fire mitigation.
Two different issues, yep.
Okay, agenda item number E, discussion by City Council of matters not on the agenda.
I just really have one comment following up on the discussion we just finished. As far as tree removal, I had a client that received a notice from the city for a hazardous tree, called a contractor, they took it down for $150 and provided, and that included photographic proof they had done it to comply with the notice. Now, that was the typical Palm Coast sticky palm tree that was leaning, so to the city manager's comment, I'm sure if it had been a specimen oak, it would have been more expensive, but the client was very relieved to find out that's all it was going to cost him to be in compliance, and the service was very good. So there are people out there that'll do it for that in those circumstances.
Is that all you have, Councilor?
That's all the comments I have.
I have one question. It's a good thing Barbara's here. I got an email from which I got, maybe all of you did, from this, but it was about a raccoon who was acting silly, and they thought it was rabbit. Now I don't think it was rabbit. I think they have that disease that makes them look like they're distemper. Distemper. That's it. So it sounded like that. But this is my question, though. In reading that, he stated he called the Flagler Animal Control, and they told him to call. They don't come to Palm Coast, and he told them to call the sheriff. I'm confused there. So do we handle that? Yeah, I'll ask anybody.
Well,
Open it
Barbara,
up.
come on up and maybe, I'm going to start off by saying, whatever Barbara tells you, the next case will be different.
Oh, all right, okay.
I mean, every one of these has a different story to
Okay.
it, and so may have to be handled separately and differently depending on the case. I'm also going to start off by saying we do not pick up wildlife.
Pick up, like
Trap,
okay.
pick up of any kind. People say, oh, there's a snake in my yard, will you come get it? No, we do not trap or deal with wildlife. Our animal control deals with domestic animals. Now, as soon as you start talking about rabies and some of those, then that kicks in different concerns. So Barbara, maybe fill in a little more as to how the process works.
What has been happening now with wildlife, we'll use the raccoon. We don't know if it's rabid or it's distemper, and we do only do domestic animals. And a lot of times we have domestic animals in our vehicles. And you don't want to mix a wild raccoon with a domesticated animal knowing that there's a possibility of distemper or rabies. And what in the past has happened is we have contacted the Sheriff's Department, but then we get the other end of this stick that people don't like what they do to the raccoon in order to dispose of it. We are not, meaning the City of Palm Coast, we do not have pre-exposure shots. Yeah. We are not qualified to euthanize the animal out in the field. You're required to have it double locked, so there's a lot of contingencies to be able to humanely do something to wildlife, and we have not been involved in that.
Okay. Let me ask this question. If I lived in Flagler Beach and I called and I had that raccoon and I called the county, would I get the same answer?
Does the Humane Society deal with wildlife?
They do deal with some wildlife, yes.
I was going to say, I mean, I can tell you county policy is the same policy as the city. We do not pick up, like if it was in an unincorporated county. Now, Flagler Beach may have a different ordinance that they deal with.
Right, okay. I'm just trying to get to what, I mean, that is a scary thing. I've had a few of those raccoons, and first time I seen the dysteria, I mean, it's like, you know, it's like somebody left him a whiskey. I mean, he's just all
and
over.
I think it's scary with all parties, Mr. Nobile, to include myself.
Oh, sure. No, I agree with you. It seemed like in the letter, in the email, there was a sense of confusion throughout because the county said call the sheriff, and then the sheriff said something, I don't remember, but we don't do that. And I'm thinking, well, do I take out my 22?
Yeah, well, what you're hearing between the lines is, yes, that's what they used to do. They used to take out their revolver and shoot the raccoon.
Yeah.
And it's like anything else, why we don't have a circus any longer. Some people feel that to be inhumane, and so they don't want to see that. So then the sheriff's office starts setting a policy that we're not going to go out and start shooting wild animals.
I agree.
And whether that's good policy or not, I'm not going to sit here and try to judge, but it is kind of spooky when you have a deputy sheriff out there shooting in a vacant lot.
Sure.
Their revolver.
But so my ultimate response to this situation as a homeowner would be what? Call a private trapper?
That is an option.
Okay.
And it's something that we'll discuss.
Yeah, Barbara and I saw that too, and we have this periodically, and we do. It's a good time to educate people that you know, these wild animals, not just raccoons, but a variety of them.
Yeah.
You know, they're in Palm Coast. Yeah. You know, we're not going to get rid of them. You can, you know, have every vacant lot cleared, and you're still going to have critters in Palm Coast. It's
my concern was not why we didn't do something. That's I understand that this is a very he's a highly trained and skilled, highly equipped. You know, you don't want to just run out there with a pair of gloves. You know, and but I was just wondering about the confusion. Now, you know what I mean? That's what I read in the letter was. Well, I thought, well, what would I do? You know, I know what I would do, but
part of the confusion you read is that people don't like the answer, and that is we don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what do you mean you don't do anything?
Yeah.
You need to come take care of this problem, but it is not a problem that we actually provide that service to go try to take care of. And that's the response you got. And so the dispatch said, well, we'll send a deputy out, and the deputy says, well, we really don't do anything.
Yeah.
And then you can see where the resident says, well, somebody needs to do something. And this, then that's, you get the email that says, how come you all don't do something? And, Barbara's trying to explain. Is that a fair
That's good.
scenario? What's happening?
Sounds good.
It is super illegal to discharge a firearm on your property in Palm Coast, right?
Not a pellet gun.
True.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to get into the law, and there's different, I mean, you can be out in Palm Coast and out west of US 1 on property that they're out there deer hunting, and obviously that's...
It's a distance from a dwelling, and you can't shoot over roads and that kind of stuff.
But yes, do not encourage, in fact, strongly discourage for residents to get their guns out and start shooting wild animals. My granddaughter's in that yard next door to them.
Yeah.
And
So
you don't
maybe
want
we
to
need to
ricocheting off the ground or
start a
something.
policy. But you know what? Just as dangerous is that rabbit, raccoon, or I was watching where a rabbit bobcat was attacked a deputy. I mean, it went berserko, and that's little kids are very susceptible to those animals.
Yep.
But there are emergency companies that you can call.
There are trappers that will come.
That's their job, is they don't charge you, but they'll come and do it.
All the way from those pesky armadillos that tear up your yard, all the way up to alligators in your swimming pool.
The thing is to chase it in your neighbor's yard and then call.
That's their problem.
Okay.
Got it.
So I received that email as well. I don't know if the rest of the council did, but I don't know if I knew I had forwarded it to you to look into and respond over the weekend. Email,
yes, Barbara and I were in communication over the weekend. We'll get back to them.
That's all I have.
Lucas?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. Sorry.
The only thing I was going to add was for the Goya sales, the fiber installation. Maybe when in the future we do things like this, we have a cost estimation for installation, because I know that it is going to be varying depending on distance, and it can be anywhere between a few $1,000s to multiple tens of thousands of dollars. And that also brings up something that I think we'll get into later, is the different options we have for the fiber installation. Right now, I think we do everything via conduit, but if we were to do direct burial cable, perhaps installations like this are much less expensive.
This is direct burial, is it not, or does this conduit?
Everything is in conduit today.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I can tell you that the estimate we got, it's not final, was about $20,000 to get to Joya Sills. Once again, though, that's the return on that investment is very strong with the jobs and the capital investment that they're making here. But
what's the stronger if it's only a $5,000 installation, though?
Very good. Yep. And as we've talked, Mr. Kloufis, we're looking forward to revamping and re-engineering our whole FiberNet program, and going to bring something to you.
I got nothing.
I'm good. Thank you.
Councilwoman Schiffer?
I do have two things. For one of them, I need everyone to take one of each. And I sent a picture, Virginia sent a picture to you of a home here in Palm Coast. The first thing is, and I don't know if it would be Wendy or Virginia, but if the Utility and Public Works, if they could have a copy of their policies and procedures, that we give them an actual hard copy if they ask for it, because I know there's 160-something people. If they actually request a copy of their policies and procedures, that they would get a hard copy.
Well, policies and procedures for... Okay. Yeah, we'll give hard copies anytime someone requests it, of anything.
But we don't charge them. They get a copy of it.
I'm going to let Virginia. It
I
depends
know
on.
nothing about this. Can you explain what
Yeah.
we're reading? I mean,
This is for something different, the next thing.
okay, because I'm like, I don't know.
I figured the other one was just an easy,
We will make a
Employees policy and procedure guideline, or policies and procedures for employees. I'm going to pass that to Wendy, because Wendy does handle those when an employee comes in on passing those out.
Entire thing or any portion thereof.
Yeah.
and print it themselves.
And I think ours is too. We got a hard copy. So just if somebody asks for it, we'll give them a hard copy the first time. Obviously, if they ask for it second and third time, we could charge them. But for their first time, just to get one copy of policies and procedures.
Okay, if you're talking about fees, then that is back to Virginia as to what our policy would be. You know, if someone comes in and wants a page, that's one thing. But if they want a 400,000-page document.
I think it's 138 pages.
If they want it printed, it's 15 cents per page after the first 20 pages. And then if it's double-sided, it's 20 cents per page.
Even when they get hired, they don't get a free copy of policies and procedures.
Are you talking about employees?
Yeah, the entire personnel policy and procedure manual is online. And so it's through the intranet. It's available through our employee self-service. Employees can come to our office and review it. We will print up and give, sections if they're looking for a particular section. But usually the second time or third time they ask, if it's only a few pages, we'll give them a few pages. But we have had public records requests.
Okay, let me see if I can. We have an employee that's complained about the fact that we won't give them a hard copy of our employee policies and procedures. Well, that employee, if they're using it for anything other, why would we use tax dollars to benefit that employee for just that one request? It makes no sense. They get a copy of it, of any page, we'll give them a page of it, but just the whole document, we're going to do electronically. That is our policy.
What about having a hard copy in the supervisor's office?
We have hard copies they can come read. We accommodate, yes. But to give every employee a hard copy, all that paper and costs of printing and everything.
Well, that's why I'm saying only if they ask for it, because maybe there's only 4 or 5 that want it.
Wendy will deal with it.
Just have them come see me. Yep. I'll take care of it.
Okay, and the other thing is qualifications and job descriptions in their supervisor's office. Is that something they could have just so that they can look and see what the salary rates are from job to job?
They need to come see Wendy. She has all that.
Yeah, again, all the job descriptions in our pay plan are available online for anybody to look at. So they can come see me if they have questions.
Up-to-date pay scales are on there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just updated for 2017.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now a fluff one. So we have a great bunch of people in Palm Coast that have been working on something for a very long time. They actually have got us in the Smithsonian, where we are in the Smithsonian Institution, the National Museum of American History, Division of Home and Community Life, room 4127. We are now there for all the paperwork that they've done. Some of you may know Mr. Chuddy, there's Mr. Costas and Mr. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. Mr. Keel. They've worked very hard, done a lot of paperwork. They recently got, the picture I sent you is a picture of what is in front of one of our houses. There's one on Casper and there's one on Clark that they have. And they recently got another one, which is the paperwork I sent you, is what the plaque is actually going to say. What they were originally going to offer this to be put in front of the Palm Harbor Golf Course, because they've also got us on the historical golf course list, which is anything for Palm Harbor to, anything to bring any kind of attention to them. They found out yesterday that this cannot go in front of Palm Harbor, but they have the paperwork, they know how to do it, and they are looking just for us to say, yes, we would put it at Palm Harbor if they got this same type of plaque, reading something like this or whatever we would want on the plaque. They will do it, and it's $1,900 to have that plaque put in front of Palm Harbor. So that's something I thought I would bring up.
I'm a little confused. Have they worked with the local Palm Coast Historical Society?
No, this is something they originally brought it to him. These plaques have been there a while now.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying we have a very organized historical society, a board that's recognized, and I would hate for one group to not be in conjunction with a group that we work closely with. So are you suggesting we pay $1,900 for this sign? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes. I mean, they've done it on their own cost so far as getting us in the Smithsonian and making it on the historical list. I did have a meeting when I first came into City Council with Mr. Art Dyke from the Historical Society, and he didn't seem to pick up on it. So they kind of went running on their own and did it and got it for their own homes, but this would actually give it to the Palm Harbor Golf Course.
Give me a minute.
All the time you want.
So, the only thing I would say is I like the idea, but I would suggest they get donations for the cost.
Plus, when I was with Nestor over Public Works, Tyler was showing me the new vinyl cutter they had over there. Maybe there's a way for us to do it way cheaper than $1,900. I know it says here there's some grant money to cover half the cost.
And it also makes grant money available to us once we put it at the golf course.
I just got this.
I know. I brought it up this morning because it was supposed to be something that we needed to do in the next few weeks to get it in front of Palm Harbor Golf Course. But when the gentleman that gave me this information came today, he said that they actually wouldn't let them move it from the residence for the new one they're getting because they had already figured it for that piece of land. So that one, they'll get on their own. They'll pay the money for themselves. But in order to move forward, if we want to be involved as far as the wording and everything, so now it's not as important time-wise, but I wanted to bring it up to you.
And I would suggest maybe some form of proposal. I don't know if that's what this is. That explains to me the benefits, and you know what I'm saying? Why would we want to do it, and that kind of stuff, since we got time. If they could do that, not you, and present it to us, and then we can talk about it.
Then a workshop, maybe.
Yeah, we can do that if City Council. I would interject that, piggybacking on what the mayor said, is that we have a historical society that we actually support financially, and we always work through them, and would hope that we aren't having multiple groups doing multiple things, and that it's be coordinated through our historical society so that we're
I agree. I mean, you know, the Historical
That's
Society is a long-standing organization here. They have a house, they have a home that they house our historical documents.
Right, we did go there.
Promote. So this is the first I've heard of this. So again,
Was the Historical Society approached?
Yes, I actually called a meeting at the community center over a year and a half ago, and Art Dyke did come. He looked at everything. It's a lot of paperwork, and there was no interest at that point. Well, it was just a lot of paperwork, and they actually did the paperwork themselves to put it through.
Well, you know, listening to this, just off the top of my head, if we do work with the Historical Society, and somebody comes to them with something like this, then I need to know why they wouldn't do it. I don't, you know, if we're supporting them, they have to give reason. We can't can't give them monopoly and give them the money. Somebody else wants to do something, we should allow it if there's an unreasonable, you know, so I'd like to hear what they would have to say about why they were not
And I'm just always looking for ways for Palm Harbor, something to, you know, put on the map, an extra little something to promote them.
well, I appreciate the work you've done, Councilwoman Shipley, as well as the members, but I'm just not ready to even make an action on this. This just came to me. This is the first I've heard of this. So again, I'm going to have to sit down and read over the material and do some work research.
Yeah, it's not a time issue anymore, so that's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
I had one more comment that I forgot to say. Am I allowed to already go by? Is that got to wait for a couple weeks? I was put in touch by a woman named Dr. Toppy. She's a doctor here in Palm Coast, and she's a pillar of our community. She's a great lady, and she's helped so many people in our community. And she expressed to me that she would like to be involved in the implementation of a facility where a doctor is to prescribe medical marijuana in the future, so that it can be in conjunction with the quality of life of Palm Coast. And she thought that she is a good representation and understanding of what the quality of life in Palm Coast is consistent of. And she reached out to me, and I wanted to throw it on the table here to see if we had any ideas for maybe bringing people like Dr. Toppy, who are figures in our...
Let me ask you this question. So if my doctor won't prescribe me marijuana, I have a place to go to get it.
So most doctors, from what I understand, aren't going, you need to take special classes and understandings to be able to prescribe medical marijuana the way that she explained it and what I've read from the legislation. So I don't think oncologists or general practitioners are going to be prescribers, but since she's involved so closely with so many cancer patients and such, she feels some type of connection here because her belief that this is an actual medical issue. But she also has been here long enough so we know that it's not just somebody coming off the street who's trying to be a fake doctor to make some money.
So she would write a script for patients that weren't, because I know what she does, I know what kind of doctor she is, that weren't her actual patients. Just someone that comes and says, I need it for pain in my feet.
So she was more concerned about the people who she has already treated for her practice that she knows are in a position where they would be eligible to...
Yes, that I understand. It would be her patients. I'm good with that because I don't take offense to this, but the pill mill works that way, where somebody just sets up office and writes...
Yes, and that's what we want to avoid. Yes.
Right,
yep.
yeah. So if they're her patients, obviously we want her to be able to, if that's part of her prescribed treatment, we want her to be able to go that route.
And I think the goal was to become certified to be able to write these types of prescriptions, which would allow additional people who may not be her clients today
to become her clients.
Correct.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Maybe we could set up some type of community group that has ideas or implementation ideas on how we can avoid what she has seen happen in other states, because she's been following this for multiple years. So she asked that we as a council start to talk about getting a group of people together who have seen this happen before and can suggest ways that we move forward with our actual policy to eliminate the chances of it becoming a situation where we have undesirable people taking advantage of this.
Yeah, I would like, if we could first, is have her come and present at one of our workshops.
And that's actually what she had asked, just for a brief moment to kind of lay out.
Yeah, and just lay it out for us, and then we could maybe take the next step.
And that was the point of the moratorium, right? So that we could
yes,
gather our
that's
thoughts
right, exactly.
while everything was going through.
Right.
If I could add on, yes, that was one of the points of the moratorium, but I want to stress also there's going to be an issue about who regulates what. This is an issue of what is the state going to get involved in and what are the local governments going to get involved with. With the regulations that I've seen, most jurisdictions, almost all jurisdictions have either done nothing or they've entered into moratoriums like we have. A few have already started trying to regulate, but they've been doing so almost exclusively in the land use area as opposed to getting into the weeds, if you will, no pun intended.
And hopefully the land use stays homegrown and we don't have any issues with implementing.
And that's what as the mayor indicated, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and it's probably going to happen pretty soon up in Tallahassee about exactly what they are willing to allow the local governments to continue to have home rule over, or what is preempted. And one of the concerns that I've read about is that the areas in preemption will include areas like you're discussing, council member, as far as who can, under what circumstances, prescribe, what will be the process for a medical doctor specifically to go through to prescribe this new, not new kind of new to being used by Florida patients, marijuana. Obviously, there is already a process to obtain the low THC marijuana, but this is going to be much different. And so I think it's important to understand that we're going to have to watch very carefully and closely what we're able to get involved with out of Tallahassee. And I haven't read anything in the last week to 10 days about exactly which direction that's going. Mayor, maybe you've heard more than I have.
Yeah, I mean, it really is, they're struggling with the fact of, three different components. One is, currently it's, it's illegal to grow marijuana, and the legalities of it in itself is causing major debate on what is considered, how do you overcome that? Because you have the Sheriff's Association that is diametrically opposed to this. So they're getting engaged and very active and involved with the fact of just taking the legalities out of it and what that's going to look like. As far as dispensing it, if you will, that you have the Physicians Association, who is, again, actively lobbying for a stronger discussion on favoring one over the other. And so that is a strong debate. So several different committees underneath the regulatory agencies right now are being actually formed just to discuss the fundamentals and foundation of this. So we are very much in the initial stages. Land use is going to be a significant component. And I will tell you, historically, we have seen that Tallahassee is never been one to say, okay, local governments, you just decide, and we're going to leave it up to you. It really has been one where they're going to take a very strong hold as far as legislatively what we're able to actually adopt as a local government, which is not to discourage any initiatives or any discussions, but my forecast and my perception is with a very strong, more conservative legislature, that the discussions that I'm hearing are one that the state is going to dictate a lot of those guidelines, and then we're going to have to adhere to and fit into the guidelines that they're stipulating.
And I think there's a difference between prescribing and dispensing. And a lot of your comments, council member, have to do with the former. And if I were to have to put a bet down, if there was a higher certainty that of the type of regulations that local governments will continue to be able to control after we get done with Tallahassee, it's going to be the land use part of the dispensing. And even then, though, there's going to be an issue of exactly what type of project ultimately will be allowed. Are we talking about just retail type dispensaries? Are we talking about dispensaries that also include some wholesale distribution type of use? And then, of course, as the mayor indicated, if you look at just the constitutional amendment itself, it defines these as agricultural and warehouse. They're all kind of it's all within that definition. I think when most people, when I first looked at it, I thought, well, a dispensary was something like you find in a retail, just pure retail. But that's not really what the language in the constitutional amendment includes. So that's something I wouldn't be surprised if there's a line or several lines drawn up in Tallahassee as far as regulating the different aspects of this industry.
Yeah, because I mean, I've heard from just business people in the community that want to start up a business and wondering where we're going, and I have no idea. As far as Dr. Toppy goes, she's just an extraordinary individual in our community, and I think maybe even just hearing from her as from a physician's perspective actually may be very helpful as we go through this process. So if the council is okay with that, I think if we can hear a presentation from her and set that up in the future in a workshop, that would be very beneficial, I think, because I am truly at a loss when it comes to what we're going to be looking at here.
If I may interject, it's different product, but similar process. When we passed the ordinance on pill mills, we have legitimate pain doctors and clinics here in town. And so they were concerned that we were going to pass an ordinance that would hurt their business and allow them to actually help their patients. And so we reached out to that group, and anything we put together, we had them review, had input. And I think this is very similar to that, as we don't know exactly how this works in the medical field, and actually having the medical field come and help us make sure that we don't pass laws that actually prevent them from doing their job, I think is a great idea. Timing is important, though, because if we go and put a lot of effort into it now and Tallahassee goes a whole different direction, we just wasted all that. So I still think the goal here is to get more direction from the state, but then also have some of the local interests be part of any local ordinance we put together. So I think that's a great idea. Reach out to this doctor, but also there might be others. I think same thing when we did with pain clinics, is that we had multiples and they all wanted to take a look at it. And I'd hope we do the same in this case.
Yeah.
The only item I have, and I've spoken to Mr. Landon about this, is Island Walk parking lot. If I get one more complaint about the fact that it's very confusing when you're going into, you're entering where Starbucks is, and there's no stop sign, so people are going left or they're going right. And then you have a stop sign outside of one of the exits or entrances to Publix shopping center. And I am there regularly, and so are many people I know. That's the area I live in the city. And I can tell you, I get confused going through this, and I'm like, there is no stop sign here, so I know I don't have to stop, but you see cars coming, and if I don't stop, what does that mean? And I know you talked about Starbucks is reconfiguring their business, so I need either a definitive, like, maybe staff can go out and look at how confusing it is, but it's a bad area, it really is. It makes no sense on how it was designed, and I'm hoping Starbucks will resolve some of it, but I don't see how.
Well, I can give you, yes, those who don't know, Starbucks building is coming down, they're starting over. In the meantime, Starbucks is very close to remodeling one of the storefronts in the main building, and we'll be there temporarily and then move back, and they'll have a new building with the drive-through. So, yes, there'll still be some construction around there, Mayor, and construction always confuses things. In general, I can tell you that coming off of the street, and the same thing is true off Old Kings Road, there is no stop sign. The idea is you don't want people backing up into the street, so they have the right-of-way. Everybody who is doing the cross traffic, if you will, the top of the T, is supposed to stop. I agree with you 100%. You get there, you see someone stop, if they kind of feel like you're going to stop, like it'd be a three-way stop.
Because it's so, you come down off this thing and then there's a stop sign midway, like it's not at an entrance or exit.
And we will definitely, and you're not the only one, we've heard it from others. We need to take a look at it. I think the opportunity to take a look at it with the Starbucks project makes a lot of sense.
My fear is Brass Tap is opening, and that's going to cause a lot of traffic over in that area. And I mean, my daughter works at Metro, so oftentimes I'm over there, and again, it's sort of that anxiety level. You're pulling up and you're going, it just is so odd.
Uncertainty is the worst thing for a driver, because they start thinking too much and reacting wrong. So we'll take a look at it. Sure.
Where does the city right-of-way end on that entrance?
That entrance is strictly a private drive. Our right-of-way ends on...
Spend a lot of time and money.
No, it's not.
Maybe working with them and saying, hey, you need to do something here.
This would not be the city doing this. This would be the property owner, the developer doing this. That's why I tie it into Starbucks, because
okay, because we'll be there anyway.
We'll be out there. There's been some other things we've asked them to do after the fact. It's like anything else. On paper, maybe it looks like it makes sense, but then as soon as you out there and drive it, not so much. So
great shopping center, and the more stores are out there, I mean, it's a busy shopping center. So
it is, but I agree with you, because when I went in, I don't go there much. So when I went in that entrance, got to Publix via Anthony's Pizza, because I was like,
that's a little.
what am I doing here? You know, so.
And actually, the developer probably said they did a great job, so now you go buy all those others, and so they.
Yeah, to see, that's what it is.
That's
marketing.
Yes.
Traffic
marketing. It's actually, yes, I think it's turned out to be better than expected. It exceeded most people's expectations. It's interesting because traffic engineer right now is, I'm sure, smiling to himself because he said this is really going to be a busy traffic area. And everybody wanted, okay, let the traffic stay like it is. And he said, no, once this thing is done, you're going to double, quadruple, somewhere in between the amount of traffic. And we were going to see these kind of issues. Mayor's point's well taken. You know, the Brass Tap isn't open, but there's a lot of other stores that aren't open yet. And once it's totally full, and which will be soon.
I feel like we can move that stop sign.
There's something there is weird. Yes. Yep. I'm not disagreeing. I agree totally. I'm actually trying to brag about the fact that it's a great project and a big asset to the community, and we've got a stop sign we got to deal with. If that's the worst of our problems, then
we're okay.
No, but it's amazing what I hear out in the community, and that is a very, very hot topic. Like, people are like, what's wrong with, you know, I'm like, listen, I don't know.
Can I, if I could, you know, in Palm Coast Parkway 6 laning, which seems like it's been like that forever, and how all that turned out is in complements this, and how you have other things going on in that area on Old Kings Road, and if we can get when we get Old Kings Road widened, it's even going to be better.
Yeah.
But the construction process is always painful, but that whole area looks a whole lot better and a lot more active right now, so very proud of that all coming together.
Thank you. That's all I have. City Attorney of matters not on the agenda.
Nothing, Madam Mayor.
Okay. City Manager of matters not on the agenda.
Someone mentioned the storm debris out on US 1 out there. I got an update this morning that says that it should all be gone by end of this week. There's very little of it out there left. So it's.
Where's it being taken? I mean, do we know or care? I mean, it's the
Well,
contractor.
yeah, we went out to bid and had a couple of our local haulers bid with the national guys, and actually one of our local haulers came in less price. I think most of it is going to Georgia Pacific, out by Placa, I think it is.
They burn the.
Yeah, they use it for fuel.
Yeah.
As part of their power plant out there. You know, they use the wood pulp, which is not the bark or any of the trash, but then lots of times they'll bring the trash in, trash meaning tree, miscellaneous tree stuff, and they'll burn that to generate electricity. I think there might be another location they're taking it to, but it is in essence being recycled, being used. Couple other things going on, and this is one of those that after a while it feels like it just happens every year, but it's still very exciting. Our professional tennis tournament starts January 24th as part of the wild card tournament, and then goes on all the way through February 5th. You know, that's a futures, that's a $10,000 purse, but right here in Palm Coast, some future talent is going to be here at the end of this month and into next month. Also, our annual feather feast, birds of a feast, our bird.
No feasts, no
Birds
feasts.
of a feather.
Yeah. Birds of a feather.
Birds of a feather feast.
Not eating. Yeah.
You go to Publix to get the feast of birds.
Cindy, something about birds. Yeah, I'm looking at it, looking here. That doesn't sound right. I think this is the third annual one we've done this year, and it gets more and more popular, and it brings in people from all over. Actually, we've had some people come down from Canada for this, and it's Palm Coast is a great show for that. It's going to be headquartered here because we won't have the community center this year, so. Maybe you can get out and enjoy some of those activities. Also, speaking of the community center, as a result of your action, we do anticipate it being closed down February 1st. Once again, Alex didn't want to totally finalize any of his scheduling plans until you took action. But now that you have, we'll finalize those and try to accommodate everybody the best we can.
Can I get a copy of that schedule?
Yeah, once it's out. I'm just going to ask, whatever you get, he's lying to you, because it will change, if you know what I mean. I mean,
yeah, no, I won't, yes.
It will, when you're dealing with many organizations as we do and trying to be flexible and everything, it will change. But we'll get something to you that's kind
just
of
like to get an idea.
Initial, and then don't count on it being in stone, because we'll go from there. And I do want to compliment Alex and his staff to being as patient and diligent on this as possible. It's not easy. And then lastly is, maybe you've noticed, we have a new feature out here in our parking lot. Part of our City Hall LEED certification was actually designating a couple of spaces for electric vehicles where they can plug in and charge. Currently it is free. It is, the design is you can charge for that in the future, but right now I think it's, if we charge, we wouldn't get any business at all. So it's supposed to be a nice benefit for people who are driving electric cars. I think you're going to see more and more of that, and it's maybe the first, if not one of the very few here in Palm Coast. So we will get on the map as a place to stop and charge up. So that's a cool addition we have here, in my opinion. So.
The universal adapter, right?
That's my understanding.
They'll still need another adapter to go on that, but they usually get that with their car.
Yeah, I was going to say that my brother has an electric car, and he forgot it one time. So you get 200 miles down the road and you can't charge up. Uh-oh.
AAA covers that like they do running out of gas.
Yeah, he got it shipped overnight, and we're off and running again. Yeah, you have something in your car that adapts. I'm not an expert in this, but I think this works out. Mayor, that's all I have for today.
Motion to adjourn. Second.